communist. I'm a communist, but you don't need to be a communist to be outraged at this. You just need to be a consistent Democrat. By what right does the United States go into another country?
Who's the consistent Democrat here?
And turn it into an energy colony, as your correspondent just spoke.
I hear you there. But if you're a Democrat, then you wouldn't really support the leader who's just been deposed, because he shouldn't really be there in the first place, because he didn't really win the election. So if you
this is nothing to do with elections. Trump has just one second. Trump has just threatened the democratically elected president of Colombia and the democratically elected president of Mexico, about whom there's no doubt that these elections have been not contested by anyone. And he's also said, you are next in line unless you submit to U.S. designs and dictats. You are next in line. This is about imperialist bullying. Okay. It's not about democracy.
I hear you, but that is a warning. But Maduro
is a warning. Of course, it's a warning of what?
I'm sure
it's a warning of military intervention.
Well, it's a warning.
Against two democratically elected
leaders. He hasn't
leaders.
said what it is. You know, Donald Trump. He hasn't said what it is.
He has said.
He hasn't specific. He hasn't been specific.
No, he specifically.
The point is, if you are,
to the leader of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, he said, "You are a drug trafficker, and you are next in line."
But isn't he entitled? Okay, so on the matter of democracy, Maduro. Hang on, wait. On the word of on democracy, Maduro was not running a democratic regime, was he? He didn't win the election. He actually just took it and carried on, even though he wasn't elected as leader. So that's the first thing. It is. And
can I just say, over the month of December, Trump entertained at his official residence the king, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, bin Salman, who's never won any elections. There are no elections in Saudi Arabia. That's why I'm saying this has nothing to do with democracy or whether
do you not
Maduro
see a difference?
Won an election or not.
Just
whether
on a point of
Maduro
principle,
accept.
Do you not see a difference?
Yeah, for those who don't know, Saudi Arabia was Arabia that was handed over to the House of Saud by the British. So, after the Ottomans were defeated, they had to, I believe this was after World War I, they had to have somebody run that region. The British couldn't go in and manage it on their own. So they just gave it to the House of Saud, and that's how Saudi Arabia, became what it is. So that you have this royal family there, and look, this isn't an attack on Saudi Arabia. That's a totally different conversation. But the point is that if the standard is whether you have elections or not, a democracy or not, and I could argue all day about whether Western democracy even works, let alone exists, because I'm not sure it does. But, nevertheless, the House of Saud, they don't have elections. The people there, they don't get to vote. There's no choice. There was no election. There was no election for Pol Pot in Vietnam. There was no election there. There was no election for the president of Syria. He's a former terrorist. Nobody voted him in. I don't think the Druze, I don't think the Christians, I don't think the Alawites, I don't think they would have voted for him. Just my gut feeling, If you can detect the rancor in my voice, aka sarcasm, then yeah, they would not have voted for him. Do you think that the Palestinians would vote for the Israeli control unit that's going to be ruling over them? I don't think that happened. So is that really the standard? What about in Germany? Maybe Germany should be next. According to the Munn-Trump doctrine, according to that, in Germany, they have a party called the AfD. And the AfD is statistically the most popular party in the country. But according to the Christian Democrats, the Social Democrats, and the other parties, they're not going to work with them because they don't like them. They don't like them. They're too right-wing. Okay. Well, the people voted for them, though. Now, I won't get into the fact that several members of the AfD before regional elections in Bavaria and the east of Germany were murdered leading up to the election. I won't even get into that. I won't get into that. But I will say that if you have an election and the people vote for a party, you can't just decide, well, we're not going to work with them. Is that an election? So be careful about the standards that you set.
Do you not see a difference between Saudi Arabia, a country that has never been a democracy, where there is a legitimate head of state, crown prince, with whom we have diplomatic relations and all the rest of it, and a country like Venezuela that only a decade or so ago had legitimate elections, that had a democratic society that lasted multiple generations, and that democratic society was snatched away by a socialist military, in effect, coup, with Maduro clinging on to power even though 80% of his people voted against him, with the backing of the military, who he then gave lucrative drug smuggling paths to.
Can I just say, in 2002, April, the United States organized a military coup in Venezuela against President Chavez. President Chavez won 19 elections and referendums in the time he was in power. There was no doubt that he was a democratically elected president. That didn't stop the United States from carrying out a coup. So the reason for these coups and military interventions is nothing to do with democracy. Since when is the United States been interested in democracy anywhere? The reason is to do with two things.
By the way, who was the vice president under Mr. Chavez? It was Maduro. It's Maduro. So you had a democratically elected, by the way, it's just convenience when democracy is used as an excuse. But, I mean, Hitler was democratically elected. Hitler was democratically elected. I don't see anybody rebuking that. It's true. He won the majority. Now, he won the majority because the Socialists, or the Communist Party of Germany, faced opposition from the Democrat Socialist Party, which had murdered leaders of their party in 1918. And they couldn't work together to defeat the Nazis. So the Nazis ended up winning the election. But the U.S. had a coup against Venezuela after a democratically elected president had been brought into office. And the VP of Chavez was Maduro. So again, we're just not understanding history. I mean, you could just look at this guy's eyes. He couldn't wait to smile and mock the guests that they brought on so that they could make fun of the fact that, oh, it's been a tough week for you. It's a tough week. It should be a tough week for them. They live in a pathetic country that's been in economic decline for 100 years and is full of corrupt, pathetic sycophants who are no doubt a part of the Epstein Island coup. And this guy, I mean, literally a member of the royal family was embroiled in that. And they have a leadership that has arrested 12,000 people for social media posts. And he wants to talk about democracy? What kind of democracy do they live in? Did their people vote for getting rid of freedom of speech? Did their people vote for mass illegal migration? Is that the democracy he's talking about? I think it's been a bad 100 years for GB, and it's been a rough week for Venezuela. But we shouldn't be laughing at that, because guess what? You treat others how you want to be treated. Jesus himself said, those who raise the sword risk falling by the sword. And I'm paraphrasing it. But this is not a new concept. You don't think you're next? You don't think your people are going to suffer at some point based on this action? This is justifying something you don't want to justify. Even if you agree with the concept, you don't want to take this action. You don't want to go down this road. But keep smirking.
One, oil. Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves anywhere in the world. And number two, China. The United States has said in writing in the national security strategy that Trump published in the month of November that they want to kick out all non-hemispheric actors from the Western Hemisphere, which they consider their backyard. And your correspondent has spoken about the Monroe Doctrine. This is what this is about. It's not nothing to do with democracy in Venezuela. It's to do with the U.S. domination of resources and infrastructure in Latin America. That's why I'm against.
But Donald Trump hasn't said that it wasn't to do with oil. He's completely admitted that it's to do with oil. He also said it's to do with drugs trafficking.
Exactly.
And if that is part
There's
of
no
the reasoning,
drugs trafficking. That's just an excuse.
But he is within rights to protect the American interests and do what is necessary to do that. And if there is a problem with drug trafficking and a problem with oil, and remember the Americans, well, the Americans, didn't they have lots of oil fields in Venezuela? And then they were kicked out of Venezuela when Maduro came in. That is right.
No,
that did happen, yes.
Get ready for this. Another. I mean, these guys. if you own GB News and you're paying these people to bring on correspondents to attack what you perceive as the counter argument against action that obviously your network must love, right? You're paying these people and they don't know anything. And think about it. They have people who are helping them and they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, ignorance isn't always bliss. Get ready for another ass kicking.
That's true. Okay, well, what's your version of reality?
No.
Only reality. Not his version.
No. The oil was nationalized in Venezuela in 1976. Not under Maduro. If you can't get your facts straight,
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
You said the oil fields were taken away.
Yes, from the Americans. There were American companies had oil companies within Venezuela. When Maduro came in, they were pretty much kicked out.
Do you know? Can I ask? No. This is nothing to do with Maduro. I'm telling you, the oil was nationalized in Venezuela in 1976. This is decades before Maduro.
But there were American companies in Venezuela.
Do you know why? Do you know why Venezuelan U.S. companies are not operating in Venezuela? Because the United States imposed an oil embargo on Venezuela. Not because they were kicked out. Chevron is operating in Venezuela under a license from the United States. The United States in 2019 imposed oil sanctions on Venezuela, and that's why there are no oil companies in U.S. oil companies in Venezuela, other than Chevron, which was given a special license.
Can I ask you, why do you think...
Oh, man, she doesn't look so happy now. Woo! Boy, it's tough. It's tough sledding. I mean, she's sitting. She's going to be walking funny when she gets up. I mean, that was... The two of them, honestly, I mean... They're going to need help getting back to the dressing room after this one. I mean, you talk about an exercise in stupid. I mean, full circle stupidity right here. Between the two of them. I don't know how many brain cells it takes to do a little research before you come on. I mean, they started this thing cocky, and they're ending it just bent over, you know? And he's being pretty nice because he really could go after their intelligence. Remember, they have people assisting them in preparing for this. He didn't get a list of questions, I guarantee you, before this started. And they're just running off trying to react to what he's saying. And they can't pick a fight. This is so stupid. Why do you even have him on if you're going to be rude? You don't know what you're talking about, and you're trying to be argumentative. Their arguments are just fueling the counter conversation as to why this was not a good thing that happened. They are just helping that cause. The more arrogant they get, the less they know, the easier it is for someone to say, wow, you know what? This doesn't sound good. So the oil companies weren't kicked out. We sanctioned them. And Maduro won an election. Chavez won an election. The whole thing, their whole argument is garbage. Well, let's see. Do they end it? Do they have anything to say that makes any sense?
And also, can I ask you,
States,
by what right?
Why do you think it is that the United States? One second, I'll let you come back, but you've just spoken. Why do you think it is that the United States can operate a 6.5-minute operation, go in and get out really quickly? We're not talking about a decade-long intervention here. We're not talking about Iraq or Afghanistan. We're talking about quick, successive, kinetic action that removes one man, and suddenly they think, and I think they have right to think, that the country can run smoothly and democratically after that. Doesn't that point to a fact that is different from other interventions? That actually it is the Venezuelan people who were desperate for something like this to happen, desperate for a tyrant to be removed, and frankly, the fact that the Americans don't have boots on the ground today, that they've got out so quickly, that it actually looks like this country could return to the democracy it enjoyed before the socialist tyranny of Maduro, and indeed to some extent Chavez before him, that they could return to a democratic society without the Americans.
Can I say, the United States used 150 aircraft. They had 25% of the U.S. Navy, including the USS Gerald Ford, in the region. They conducted a campaign of 6 months of military bullying against Venezuela, killing over 100 people in small boats. And during the intervention, they also killed about 80
They were drug smugglers, weren't they?
No, they're not drug smugglers. It's not been proven.
I love how James Bond over here, he knows that they were drug smugglers. I mean, James Bond and Moneypenny, they really put it together quickly, huh? Wow. I mean, why do we even bother investigating anything? Just hire these two.
And if they're drug smugglers, why don't they produce the evidence?
It's a strange sort of trip to make from Venezuela to the United States, unless you're bringing...
And they were entering illegally anyway. They weren't coming
No, they were not going to the United States. They were not going to the United States. Many of these boats were going from Venezuela to Trinidad and Tobago, which is just a few hundred meters away from Venezuela.
So some of them. Listen, Jorge Martin, thank you very much. We have to go.
Yeah, we got to get out of here. We're getting our asses kicked. We don't know anything, and we sound completely stupid every time we open our mouths. Wow. I mean, that was as pathetic an interview as you will ever see. Pathetic. That is just brutal. I mean, if they are trying to prove the point, if this is a great representation of why no one believes Western mass media. I mean, I mean, if you couldn't find a better example, everything they said was stupid. Everything. I mean, they were drug smugglers. Well, you don't know that they were drug smugglers. We killed them first. We don't even know. We didn't produce any evidence. This, by the way, this is not how we operate. This is not constitutional under our law. It's not legal under international law. It's certainly a violation of their law. Plus, we're in their waters. Imagine if someone came to Lake Michigan and said, imagine the Russians or the Germans or the Italians or anybody came to Lake Michigan and they said, "Oh, you see that boat there? Whoever's on that boat, they're probably going to come over to our country and they're going to bring drugs and they're going to bring a gun and they're going to hurt somebody. Let's blow it up." You have no right to do that. I mean, this is just completely stupid. And then they try to say, well, it was a democratically elected. Really? You don't know that. Not to mention their elections are safer than ours. If they can do this to Maduro, imagine what they could do to you. Oh, well, their people must have wanted this because it was so easy. The CIA and the U.S. government is very good at what they do. Okay? Now, they can't pave a road. They can't build a bridge. They can't take care of the homelessness problem. They certainly can't can't lower the national debt. They can't make living more affordable in America. I mean, there's a lot of things they can't do for us. But covert ops, they're very good at. So if the measure of whether something is right or wrong is how effective they can do it, then I would say this guy should be speaking German because the Germans kicked their ass. I mean, the Blitzkrieg worked like a charm, right? I mean, might is right? I mean, the Blitzkrieg, they had his grandfather hiding in a subway station. And the measure of whether something is good or not, according to James Bond over here, is whether it can be done smoothly. I mean, the British, they had to retreat from the mainland of Europe. They had to retreat from France. They had to retreat and hide in the UK. And honestly, if it wasn't for Germany kind of slow rolling until the Blitzkrieg, I mean, his grandfather might have been taken out. And if it wasn't for the United States joining in at the end, if it wasn't for the Russians, the Soviet Union losing 25 million people fighting Hitler's army in the East, he would be speaking German right now. And I don't see him saying, well, I justify it because it was easy to do. Just because something is easy doesn't make it right. You don't think that there were detractors in Maduro's administration? You don't think there are detractors in the ruling class of Venezuela? You don't think there are people with money and influence that maybe they would be happy to see him go? Not to be ruled by America, but just to have the opportunity to seize more wealth and seize more power? That doesn't make it right. His whole argument, both of them, just pathetic, ignorant, stupid. I mean, you name it. I mean, it's not that they personally are the fault. It's the network, it's the mass media, and it's the justification of all the Western media that tells you exactly how this works. There's one machine at work in the West. It works together. They have no problem with what just happened in Venezuela. Biden and the previous administration couldn't stand Maduro. They wanted to have him arrested. They couldn't do it. Trump went a different way. He went the kidnapping route. These political parties who span the West, they all are the same. They're all the same. Some of them are going to stand up and say, oh, what you did was wrong. Trust me, if they could do that to Putin, they'd do it in a second. They just can't. If they could, they would. Trust me. But they can't. If they could remove the Chinese Communist Party, if they could take out Kim Jong-un, if they could do all, if they had their way, this would be happening all over. But what he just proved here, okay? What he just proved here, you see the comments, people saying, well done. What he proved here is not only are they hypocritical, but, some of them are willfully ignorant. They don't do their research. And it just shows you that they can't even account for a good reason as to why this happened. George is on the right side of history. Are you?